In today's video, I am going to be breaking down 5 basketball plays that can be used extremely easily with younger players who are around that 8 years old, 9-year-old range. Because remember, these kids are extremely basic. Most of them are maybe just learning the game for the first time. And I'm going to tell you right now, 99.99999% of the chance is that your team, if they are this age, they're going to be into a 5-player clump into a ball saying, pass the ball, which is when practices and explaining defenses really come into handy. So let's get down, let's check out some of these basketball plays that can help your team go from pass the ball 3 feet away from the ball to pass the ball 15 feet away from the ball. So let's get down, let's check these out. The first thing that I really like to teach any younger basketball team is just the 5-out alone. Getting 5 players, filling out the corners as well as the wings and the point is extremely useful because they're going to go from wanting to be like this, saying, here, pass the ball to me, to having some spacing or something that relates to spacing, hopefully like this. I'm also going to warn you that most of the time they're going to be like this because they don't feel like they can shoot more than 15 feet away from the basket. So they're going to be like 15 feet within basket range trying to run the exact same play, which doesn't work because the defense is going to be right here and there is going to be 0 shots that happen here. And believe me, at this age, this is where you want them to shoot. If you've got some higher skilled 9-year-olds, yes, you could have them shoot from 15 feet. And of course, that 1 in 1,000 chance of getting a kid who can shoot a 3 at 8 or 9 years old is going to be able to hit some 3s. So let's space these kids back out and, of course, break down a very simple play. At this age, most leagues will say that you have to run man-to-man defense, which makes it a little bit easier to try and get that ball to the rim. Because against the zone, their whole chance is just to shoot 3s. A very simple play is called drive, kick, swing, where player 1 in this case will drive to the basket, while at this time to some parents they may seem like they are running some ISO style basketball and lots of parents don't like to have a ball hog on the team. This is actually going to be very beneficial because now we are teaching our players how to drive to the basket, and then whether they have the open lane or not in practice, they are going to be learning how to kick that ball out to somebody on the perimeter. When that happens, they're going to be learning how to move after they remove the ball from their hands. So for example, player 1 passes over to player 4. We will need to have player 3 rotate up, player 5 lift up, and player 1 shift out. Now there are players moving off ball, and we are teaching off ball movement. I know there's a lot of coaches that say you should never run plays with younger kids. Believe me, when they're all clumped up into a ball, you're going to be saying that you wish you ran plays. Now, we drove, we kicked, now we swing the ball to the wing. When this happens, we can now drive once again. Player 2 drives. He can kick that ball out to multiple different players. And because he's passing out towards this right side, he needs to then fill out towards the left side after he passes the ball. So now player 4 lifts, player 2 shifts out. And because we had a kick out pass, of course if player 5 can shoot and has the ability to and he's open, now of course, he's going to have the opportunity to shoot. But if he doesn't, on that kick-out pass, he could drive. We don't want to say you have to pass. However, our number 1 option is to swing that ball because now this is shifting the defense. The players who are playing defense at this time are going to be shifting. Any time that you drive to the basket, they're all going to be looking to collapse, which means that you're going to have a lot of players wide open. And that is the idea behind this play. This is going to force your players to drive to the basket and get uncomfortable with making contact with players and hitting layups. However, this is also teaching the ability to pass that ball out after you drove to the basket, swinging the ball and off-ball movement. These are all very important things to be able to teach kids, and this play does that. Next, if you've got some big giant kid who you just need to have in the post, I personally prefer to have post players at a younger age in the high post because it opens up more options closer to the basket. However, let's say we have player 5 in that high post. We want player 1 to pass player 5 that ball. And now with younger players, it's much easier to explain after you pass, you cut, because that's a simple 5-out style play that most teams run anyways. What you're going to find is when player 1 passes that ball in, after he passes to player 5, you're going to notice that player 1 wants that ball. He's going to usually either chase or he's just going to look at where the ball went. By having player 1 now cut to the basket, he may have a wide open lane to be able to score a layup. And this is a very simple way to be able to score quick baskets if you've got a tall guy in the high post. Now, because player 1, he passed towards his left side, he now needs to cut and then fill out to the right, because that's a basic rule in basketball, and it's not in all, obviously not in all plays. However, in the plays that I like to run, when you pass and cut, you fill to the opposite side. Player 3 will then lift up, and then we can keep on going. You could even now have the weak side cut, and this may be an option too. Player 5 still hasn't dribbled the ball yet. You could even have player 5 take his man to the basket. There are so many different options that you can have out of this play. But one of the biggest things that I can tell you to teach younger 8, 9, 10-year-old basketball players is patience. Not just trying to attack the basket right away, not just catching that ball and taking that dribble right away, because that is what kids do. They catch the ball, they dribble. You get mad as a coach because now they can't dribble anymore because they just dribbled once and they picked it up. So by having and teaching them patience, being able to catch the ball and don't dribble right away and look for the pass, you are now creating an opportunity for other players, but also now you are allowing the off-ball movement to collapse the defense, and you may be able to get yourself some easy layups yourself if you just wait 3 or 4 seconds with that ball. Now going back to 5-out, another fantastic option that you can have is when player 1, for example, passes to player 4, player 1 is going to cut to the basket. When this happens, player 5 is going to move up to the top, player 3 is going to lift, and player 1 is going to fill out. So now player 1 passes, he cuts, he may be open. Who knows? He might just possibly be open. Player 5 fills the top, player 3 fills the wing or 45, and player 1 fills the corner. Player 4 passes to player 2, player 4 cuts, he fills out to the opposite side, and everybody else rotates over. This is a very simple offense that literally every team runs. And while there's a lot of younger teams, or even older teams, who may look at this offense, for example, an older team that I help coach, we seen the other team running a defense that is extremely hard to be able to score against. However, we had to resort to this play and this play alone to be able to beat their defense. Sometimes just by cutting back and going back to old school or even younger basketball plays can help older teams win games as well. So even though this is a very basic play, every team runs it because there's always that one situation where you need it. Now, another basic play that you can run is this, where we can now have players 2 as well as player 3 heading to that high post out of that 5-out. Players 5 and 4 will then go down into that corner. Once this happens, we are then going to have player 1 pass into player 2. Now, if your team is allowed screens, you can have in this first part of the play, player 3 setting that screen and player 1 cutting to that basket. This will be always wide open if your team or your league allows you to set screens. If they don't, then what you would be looking at is the same play. However, instead of player 1 using 3 as a screen, player 3 is going to cut across the key. He may be open for the pass, and then player 1 is going to cut behind his defender, because what we're hoping for is his defender be looking towards player 2, and then he may be wide open as well. Player 2 can also shoot the ball. That's an option. We have rebounders there to be able to get that miss. Now in this 5th play, this is another basic play that you can run. However, if your team or your league allows screens, this is the play for you. If not, then you can't use this play. You're going to pass the ball. you are going to go screen for the player that you passed to, and then player 2 is going to use that screen, and player 1 is going to roll to the basket. Now, when this happens, because the ball was passed to the right side, we're going to have player 4 lift. Player 1 is going to then fill out. If there was no pass option to player 1, we want player 2 to attack that high post or that free throw line, because we really want to put pressure on the defense, because nobody wants to have the other team score in the paint, which then allows him to pass out to player 3, and then he's going to set that screen for player 3. Player 3 is going to use that screen. He's going to attack that free throw line. 2 is going to roll off. He's going to have his option to pass to player 2. If not, 5 lifts, 2 goes out, and then player 3 passes out here, and it's just basically the exact same thing on either side. Now this is a little bit more advanced once they understand those previous plays. Obviously, if you can't run screens, it's going to be extremely difficult to be able to use that last play, but it is an option because there are a lot of leagues, especially up here in Canada, that will allow you to set screens so at this age. So keep that in mind. I hope that you've enjoyed today's video. If you have, hit that like button, subscribe, and I'll see you guys again next time.